Okay, now I guess this will be part two. We'll pick this up where we left off the last time. We dealing with Egypt, paralleling modern Egypt versus the old Egypt to show that the same thing that the Egyptians done back then during the days of Moses, they are doing right now in this modern day Egypt, the United States of America. They're doing the same thing. So we left off with Pharaoh instructing the midwives to kill the babies. Okay, because see, he started off telling them, let's deal wisely with them. Okay, we're going to deal wisely with them. We're going to concoct some schemes and this and that and the other. And so we're going to get them on drugs and we're going to get them on alcohol. See, alcohol destroyed the Native American Indians. But see, it didn't destroy us. And so they put drugs and everything else on us. During the 70s, they put drugs. During the 60s and 70s, they put heroin in the community. They dumped that heroin in the community, and it didn't destroy our people. We still continue to multiply because our numbers continue to grow. But the multiplication now that we're talking about is the children of Israel multiplying by waking up out of their sleep, according to the prophetic word of the book of Ezekiel. And so when they put syphilis on the men, that didn't work. That didn't kill us. They brought AIDS in here. That didn't destroy us neither. See, it didn't make no difference. Whatever they try to use against us, it did not work. They put poverty on us. They put all of these different things on us. And now we have gotten down to the point to where Pharaoh understood that the more he afflicted us, the more we grew. And this country here understands. That you mean to tell me out of all of this affliction we have put on these people, they are still growing, they are still waxing, exceeding, and mighty and strong. Their intelligence is advancing us. They changed our educational system as a means to keep us dumbfounded, and that didn't work. Because even without your teachers and your instructors, the Father is doing something wonderful in the lives of his people. And so at last end, we get down to this last and final thing that he instructed the midwives. When all else failed, I want you to kill them. But the midwives, the Father put a spirit on them. They couldn't kill them. So then he sent the decree. I want you to just take every baby that's born and just throw them in the river. And this is where we at now. Because all of those things have failed when it comes to exterminating us as a people, as a nation of people. They have tried to absorb us into every construct that ever been built. We've been absorbed into the National Guard, into the Army, into the Air Force. We've been absorbed into all of that. Into the police forces that's killing us. We've been absorbed into all of that. But in these days, the Father is calling his people out. He said, ain't nothing work. So you know what? I am going to give you the call. Just go and kill them. And so now they are on a murdering, slaughtering campaign, trying to exterminate the children of Israel because of their purpose. They know about the prophecies. And the one thing that literally scares them to death is the prophecy of Ezekiel. That when we all collectively come together and we stop hurting one another and we stop harming each other and we return to the statutes, the laws, and the commands of the Most High, and we stand toe to toe together as a nation of people, then you know what? The prophecy that was made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will come to fulfillment. He said, I will make your descendants as the sand of the seashore and as numerous as the stars in heaven. And Ezekiel seen that thing happen. He said, at last end, they stood up on their feet, a great and exceeding army. And that is what the world is terrified. They are terrified that when the children collectively come together and they get united from all of the places on the earth that they have been scattered, from Pathros, from Egypt, from Ethiopia, from all of the islands, from this country, and everywhere they scattered abroad. He said, you know what? I seen them. They stood up on their feet. They was unified. They was up under the banner of the Most High, walking by his statutes, walking by his laws, walking by his commandments. The promise of Abraham was filled. They were so numerous, John said, that no man could put a number on them. This is what the fight is about. And you can't win the war using carnal weapons. You have to understand your purpose to which you've been called. To walk in this world and manifest the power and make the Most High's name great in all the earth. He said, that is why my purpose for you was to be a kingdom of priests, that you would fill the earth with my glory and with my majesty. And you can't do it when you're controlled by your flesh, walking around with a gun in your hand. What is your gun to an Apache helicopter? Weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're mighty through God, to pulling down the strongholds, casting down imaginations, and every high thing that exalts itself against his knowledge. There is a specific way that the house of Israel has to walk. He says, so just go out there and just start killing them. But that ain't going to work neither. That's not going to work neither. Because God don't change. According to the book of Malachi, he said, I am the Lord, thy God. I ain't changing my mind about nothing I said. That's the reason why you sons of Jacob are not consumed. That's the reason why can't nobody kill you. That's the reason why you can't be exterminated. Because I made a promise to your forefathers and I'm not changing my mind about it. Not changing my mind about it. But this modern day Egypt is nothing new. In the same way that we seen Pharaoh and all of his army destroyed, is the same thing that is going to happen to those. So we look at something else. Exodus 3 and 7. Exodus chapter 3 and 7. Because here's what we have to do, people. This is what we have to do. We have to do what the children of Israel back then done. We have to do what our forefathers done when they was up under that hard bondage and vigor and oppression. Exodus 3 and 7. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Israel, and I have heard the cry by reason of their taskmasters. That's what we got to learn how to do. Come out of them streets. Marching, no justice, no peace. You can't stand before your enemies. You can't do it. You can't do it. He said, come out of there. He said, I've heard the cry of my people. And we got to learn how to cry out to the Father. He said, you got to learn how to cry out. He said, I heard the cry of my people. And now I'm coming down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, to bring them out of that land to the good land, large and flowing with milk and honey. That is that we're going to come out of this Egypt the same way we went in there, and we're still going to be and inherit the land that was promised to us. But we must understand why these things are happening. They are not happening just because the sky is blue and the grass is green. They are happening because there's a great purpose on our life, and we must find a way back. So how do we get into this situation? Okay, when the children, Deuteronomy 28th chapter, 15th verse. Well, I'm going to show you how we got in. I'm going to show you how we're going to get out. Deuteronomy 28th chapter, 1st verse. When they came out of Egypt, this is what the Father told Moses to tell them. He told Moses to tell them, it shall come to pass if you hearken diligently to obey the voice of my commands and all that I tell you to do, then thou shalt be blessed above every nation on the planet. Verse 15th verse. But it shall also come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of my command, and to keep these statutes which I am commanding you this day, then all these curses going to come on you. And those are part of the curses, that we wouldn't be able to stand before our enemies, that we would be smitten before our enemies' face, that as we went out in the streets to march, we would come out before our enemies one way, and when they shot tear gas, we would flee before them 7 ways, and we would only be oppressed always. Those were the curses. How are we going to come out of them? Deuteronomy 30th chapter, 1st verse. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, that thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whitherso the Lord hath driven thee, and thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that he commanded us this day, thou and thy children with all thy heart, with all thy soul. It was the same thing. He said, we want to get out of this. Then we got to go back to what he told our forefathers from the jump that they fell from. He said, if you hearken diligently to the voice of thy God, to obey and observe and do all that he command you this day, then he shall set you on high above all the nations. Thou shalt be the head and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only and not beneath. This is what he told our forefathers. But the 15th verse, he told them, but if thou hearken not to the voice of our God, then all these curses going to come. And that's how we got back into this Egypt in slavery that we are in right now. And how we going to get out? He said, when we start looking at these things that's happening, and we start asking questions, he said, then you call to the children of Israel's mind the blessings that I promised and the curses, so that they can understand how that they are going to get back. That we call in the mind today, the blessings and the curses. And it is for us. Not crying out in these streets. When we want to get back, we crying out. He said, all you got to do is when you start hearkening diligently to the voice of the Lord thy God and start obeying these statutes and commands, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to come in there just like I went in Egypt. And I'm going to smite Pharaoh. And I'm going to destroy him in such a way that where it won't be not one of them left. There won't be not one racist, Ku Klux Klan, cop killing, police. It won't be not one of them left when the Father get through. But there's something that we must do first. We must cry out and we must call to mind how our forefathers failed and what they failed from. They failed from failing to hearken to the voice and the commands of the Most High. I hope somebody been blessed, and if these posts bless anybody, I pray that you would share them with the house of Israel so that that miraculous thing that's going on in the earth can continue to happen. We must wake up, people. We must wake up. He have already instructed us that we could not stand before our enemies without him, because we have no might in our hand. And might is what Ezekiel prophesied at last end, exceeding a great army. We do not have an army. We don't have weapons of war. We don't have airplanes, tanks, or any of those things. And so we cannot stand before our enemies. And so we have to use wisdom, and we have to use the scriptures. Otherwise, the curses of disobedience will keep perpetuating themselves and will continue to die. I hope somebody's been blessed.